Hi everyone. We are giddy like schoolgirls.
We are.
Yes, and I want to welcome all of you, and of course, welcome Miss Debbie Magic.
Hi,
And
everyone.
not all conversations are going to happen in my home, on my couch, together, but today it was a blessing that this is happening and that Debbie is with me. So I'm really excited and grateful to the beautiful Debbie Magic for being here. And let me start because this is something brand new that I kind of dreamt up this year. And some of you will know that I have recently rebranded. I haven't been really like talking about it too much, and I am going to start talking about it. Debbie definitely knows about it. But the brand that I felt called these past few years to really develop is Fiercely Flowing. And really, that dichotomy of finding what flow means to us, right? Feeling good, feeling like we're living a sacred, meaningful life, balanced life as much as possible, moment to moment, but doing it in a way where we are tapping into the fierceness of our souls, right? Of who we are, of what we're here to do. And it just so happens that I read this quote today in this calendar that I've had for years and years and years. And I'm just going to put it up to the camera, but I'll read it to you because it says, "Do you know what you want? Are you enjoying the evolution of your desire? If you are among the rare humans who answered yes, I'm enjoying the evolution of my desire, then you understand who you are and what this physical life experience is really all about." Okay? And that's what this is about. That's what these fierce conversations are about. I'm bringing in members of this community to kind of share moments in their lives where they felt that they were fierce. And so I'm going to ask Debbie that question in just a minute, okay? But as I posted earlier, fierce conversations are vignettes about self actualization, about our courage, about powerfully pivoting, which all of us have had to do these past couple of years and are still doing, and honoring our flow, right? And so, fierce to me means a lot of things, but really, it's about stepping into our power, honoring what we know is right for ourselves, and doing it in a way where we eventually find our flow and feel really good day to day and joyful in ourselves and in our lives.
Yeah.
So that's what this is about, and I hope that you'll take the time to tune in to our chat. And so, before we get started, Debbie, in like a little blurb, why don't you let everybody know who you are? What is Debbie Magic? That's your brand,
Okay. Yes.
and then we'll go from there.
This is always, if you've had to learn like an elevator pitch where you get asked and you've practiced it so much, but you have that moment of like, I'm having that moment. So, Debbie Magic would be the integration, the meeting point between science and woo woo, between the psychology and the energetics. So, a lot of what I do is supporting the individual and becoming aware of their own trauma, their own past narratives, like getting into the cognition, getting into the mind, getting into the psychology, untangling that using tools like here's how you regulate your body, here's how you bring yourself back to calm, developing security within the self, and then marrying that to Reiki, to Akashic readings. So it really is the integration of here's the psychology and the spirituality. So a psycho-spiritual container for people to return and reclaim their wholeness.
Yes. Oh, I love it. I love it. And I'm just going to say, because I have to, that I recently had a Reiki set, and we call it Reiki, but it's like all sorts of things.
It really
it's
is.
magic. It's her magic. I was having trouble with my eyes.
That's right.
Remember?
Yes.
So much pain. It was really hard to just be in the moment. And Reiki and Debbie poured her love on me, put her hands on me, and I kid you not, the infection in my eyes started going away immediately. It was gone.
It's wild. I will say that like Debbie Magic is kind of like the faucet, and I feel like spirit energy is the one that turns on and off,
Right.
and the water that flows through, be it Reiki, be it reading,
Right.
be it is very much spirit.
Yeah.
So thank you for
You're
saying
welcome.
that.
You're welcome.
It still surprises me.
Yes, and we love those surprises, right?
Yes.
As spiritual women on this journey of helping others to
Yes.
heal with the tools that we decide to use,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And so for me, you know, and you all know that tarot is one of those magical tools for me where I feel I channel from
Yes.
spirit. And so yeah, that's a lot of fun for us in this community. Hello, Ines. Thank you for joining us. So here is the magic question, Debbie. So I always want to start these conversations by asking, you know, share with us a moment recently
Okay.
where you felt that you were fierce, that you tapped into that fierceness of yourself.
Okay. So I would say that COVID has really opened up the space for fierce decisions, but the one that I would answer today would be having the courage and the chutzpah to decide last year to uproot myself and choose to live nomadically for the year, traveling throughout the states solo, road tripping, kind of going with the flow, not knowing where I was going to next. So it was such a deliberate, conscious choice in surrender, which wasn't cute. So when you talk about fierce, for me, fierce is the ability to move out of self-abandonment and live out of self-advocacy.
Okay, we need to pause there for a second. Okay, say that one more time.
Fierce is to move out of self-abandonment and choose to live from self-advocacy.
Okay, so how were you abandoning yourself?
Great question.
Okay.
So I think as women, what I learned very, very young was that in order to preserve connection with others, it meant that I had to sacrifice my emotional well-being, I had to sacrifice my desires, I had to sacrifice my authenticity. What that meant was it doesn't matter what I want, it doesn't matter what I need. The only way that I get connection, which I interpret as love, is by abandoning those needs and desires to show up in service for others, aka the glorified martyr.
Oh.
So my life was one where even in relationship with spirit, I thought, I'm not allowed to travel and have a beautiful year during COVID. I'm not allowed to experience freedom and joy when people are suffering. The only way that connection happens is through sacrifice and suffering. So I've got to stay in Miami and suffer this, even though I don't want to be here.
Poor me.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
yes, and we've all been in that energy, right? Poor me, the victim. I need to keep sacrificing, especially as women, right? And something I know about Debbie, and those of you who have your flow roadmap or have taken 5-element workshops with me, you know some of this language. But Debbie is the mother archetype. She is an earth mama. So
Crazy.
Yes. So sacrificing herself for others and not living your life the way you want to because what will others think? How will others judge me? Right? Is that self-abandonment that the mother archetype could get into? And looking back to when you made this decision, I remember telling myself, because last year and for the rest of January, by the way, you were in your dream year. And the dream year is all about freedom. It's all about, you know, putting up those boundaries and saying, this is how I want to flow in my life. These are the decisions that I'm going to make for myself. And I need to let all of that other stuff go. And you were doing it unconsciously. It was so beautiful to watch.
Yeah.
So how did you get into, what was the shift for you that kind of propelled this, like, I'm doing it? What was that self-empowerment? What was the shift that got you from self-abandonment into that self-advocacy?
I think it's the statement that most of us have heard of, I'm just sick and tired of feeling sick and tired.
Yes.
And it was a moment of, wait a second. Like the silver lining, one of the silver linings of COVID for me at that point was that it allowed my work to become remote. So all of a sudden, something I thought it was going to take me 10 years to do with my work because all of my work was in person, in a week, suddenly it opened up this new container. And what I wanted was to go. So let me answer it this way. I think up until last year, a lot of where I was making my decisions from was my brain, my mind. My mind has a lot of knowledge, but it was a process of getting my heart and my body online and letting them be a part of the conversation. And when I listened to my heart was going, I want to get out of Miami. And when I listened to my body went, I want a slower rhythm than Miami right now. And so all of a sudden I found myself at the table with my head, my heart, and my body, listening to their feedback and then making a decision. And it was the first time, I think, that I was consciously choosing to listen to myself in place of the external and what people told me. And I do want to validate for a second that the shift from self-abandonment to self-advocacy isn't like, okay, I woke up today and I'm just like so fierce. I think understanding that for me, growing up, self-abandonment, rejecting what I needed and desired was how I got attention, was how I got love. And growing up, when we don't get connection from our parents, our caregivers, our body goes into panic. So when it comes to self-advocating, often our bodies will shut down and freeze, and it's really difficult for us to live from our truth.
Yeah.
So I do want to validate that it was a process of me getting to the point where at the beginning of last year, I was finally able to say, yes, this makes me feel really panicked and anxious, and my butt is clenched.
Yes.
And I choose me. So it wasn't a cute, like there were doves flying around me and I got in the car and the wind was whipping through my hair. It was I'm getting in the car and what am I doing, and I feel nauseous and I feel like vomiting, and have I made the wrong decision? So the launching myself into the self-advocacy was full of fear. Yeah. And I did it anyway. So being fierce isn't being perfect.
No. It's ugly.
It's
ugly. It's like snot ugly.
Like for real. It really was.
You know, it reminds me of like, because this is what I feel our bodies go through. Like I think of a ringing yes. towel that you just keep ringing and ringing and ringing. And listen, we've all made these types of decisions, small or large, right? You know, and many of the people I'm close to in my life know that just a few weeks ago, I made one of these ringing decisions that was something I was thinking about all year long. It wasn't a life-changing decision like the one I made 2 years ago, you know, and I recognized, and I think I spoke to a few of you when I made that change. And the change I'm talking about was deciding to separate from my husband and eventually get a divorce, which was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. But the moment that I knew it was a yes was when the three dantians, the mind, the heart, and my gut were all on board. They were all on board, and it finally felt like, yes, now I can step into my fierceness. Yes. I had to have that alignment, which is yes. what you were talking about, right? So some decisions, it could take us years to be so fierce, right? And I know a few of you on this chat have been there. Ines, Marielle, oh my God, we need to have fierce conversations, you know, and they're never easy. They're never easy, and it takes all of us, mm-hmm. all of our whole being to be able to step into what you did, Debbie, you know, and it doesn't matter what stage you are in your life. It doesn't matter whether whether you have a family or kids or not. I know people who have done what you've done with their kids. Yeah. Oh my God, how hard must that have been, right? And it doesn't matter. Like most of us with a business would say, Debbie, how the hell did you transform your business overnight? Literally, when it takes many of us years to be able to transform it into, you know, a fully online, no matter where you are, you can operate your business, right? So there's so much there. I want to jump into what supported you through this change.
Okay. That's a good question. So if you know me and if you don't, what you're going to discover is that I'm going to respond super analytical and then bring it into the woo-woo. So let's go. There's a study, and I'm like probably butchering the name of the study, but I think it's called the Weird Experiment Project.
Okay.
And essentially, what they did in this study was that they brought in hundreds of women and they plugged them into MRI machines to scan their brain. And what they told these three groups of women was, okay, in just a few minutes, we're not going to tell you when, we're going to administer an electric shock. So essentially, get ready, girl, you're going to get electrocuted. But we're not going to tell you when. All three groups, because they're expecting some kind of pain, their brain spiked in distress. The first group were women that were there alone. The second group were women that were there alone, but they were given a research assistant to hold their hand. And the third group were women that went with a partner or someone they felt connected and secure with to hold their hand. Women number one, which was me most of my life. Like, I don't need no man, fierce independent queen, the hyper independence, right? I was group one. Group one experienced such a spike in distress in the brain. Group two, that was holding hands with a stranger. I believe that the distress went down by something ridiculous, like 50%, because a stranger was holding their hands. And group three, who was there with someone they trusted, barely spiked at all. Some
Wow.
didn't spike at all.
Wow.
So for me, going from group one, where I'm like, I don't need no man, I'm gonna do this trip, and I'm gonna do it alone. It was lonely and it was disconnected. And so when you ask me, like, what did it take for me to get to the point where I could believe and trust myself enough to choose me? It was community. It was having a support system. And by the way, my community is 3 people. It's not like I had a community and Mo's one of them who could listen to my fear and hold my hand, so that when my brain was going into, I can't do this isn't safe, the only way that I can connect is through suffering, and if I'm joyful during COVID, nobody's gonna wanna be my friend, the way the brain works, having those relationships that I could lean on and go, okay, but what if this doesn't work out? And them go, if it doesn't work out, you drive back to Miami and you could stay with me.
That's right.
So having relationships that assured me that I wasn't alone, even though I was. So part of being fierce to me is reclaiming wholeness. And this is where we kind of get into the conversation of moving out of separation consciousness, I'm alone, I don't need no man, to unity consciousness, which is I'm whole. And I've proven to myself that I can do it alone, but it just feels so much better to not have to.
Yeah.
To not be in group A that's distressed, but be able to turn towards relationships instead of away. Because there were weeks where I was really lonely on the road.
Yeah.
And I'd be in the freaking Rocky Mountains living my best life. And it was for me a process of really getting that it's nothing outside of me that can save me. Because if I'm honest, I went on this road trip thinking my nomadism and my road trip's gonna save me. It didn't. Me being single and like empowered is gonna save me. It didn't. Me having a virtual career is gonna save me. It didn't. It was me getting to open windows to dark rooms and face parts of myself that had been offline for a long time, and being able to lean on my relationships and go, can we do video call? Because it's been 2 weeks and I'm really lonely. And then being able to create connection wherever I went. So part of the gift of this year has been that for me, freedom isn't getting in a car driving anywhere. For me, freedom is being in a moment and not needing or desiring anything outside of this moment. Enough is great riches. So now I'm back in Miami, the place I tried to avoid and get away from, and enough is great riches.
Wow.
I hope I answered.
Oh my God, you totally answered it. I mean, I told you we were going to have a 30-minute conversation. We're probably well over 30 at this point. I can speak forever. One thing I'll say about what you just shared is, when I think about fierceness and that journey, which is always a journey of ups and downs, right? And the conversation of being able to be alone and be whole, but then also recognizing that we can't be whole without others, right? And being able to do both simultaneously and do the joy ride and the suffering ride,
Yeah.
because it's both. It's yes and. We
Yes.
always say that.
Yes.
It's yes and that to me is flow, right? And if we can do that and go on that journey, and then every time we've made it past one of those fierce moments, we're at a new peak. And guess what? Now we go on that journey, right? But we're starting here, not here, right? So now taking all of those learnings and the connection with yourself first and foremost, and knowing that you've learned so much, you've made it to another peak. Now when something happens again in your life, hint hint, it's happened, by the way, she's not starting here. Oh no,
Yeah.
you're starting here,
Yeah.
right? And to experience ourselves doing that for ourselves, like, and knowing that you don't need anybody to pat you on the back,
Yeah.
because you're patting yourself
Yes.
on your back.
Yeah.
To me, that's everything.
Yes.
So, I love you.
Yeah.
Okay, so hold on, I lost my my questions. Let's talk really quickly woo woo, because we are a woo woo community and we own it. You talked about connection.
Yes.
And of course that in and of itself is spiritual, the consciousness, that we are here to have with others. But when you think about spirituality and woo woo and all of these incredible tools and rituals and practices that we develop to not only connect with our fierceness and connect with spirituality, and other, but to help us feel better holistically, what helped you from that perspective during this past year, during this journey?
Okay. So this is going to be very practical woo woo.
Okay, I love practical
because
woo-woo.
I want to make tools digestible as we expand.
Mhm.
So I very much identify with Chinese medicine, who explains the process as heaven on earth. We chose to incarnate as human, which means we get to bring the divine and embody it here in the 3D. So when you ask me what supported me in shifting more and more into surrender, it was developing secure attachment with myself, which I will define simply as to consistently feel seen, safe, and soothed with me. I am a very logical person. The way my brain works is, and everyone's brain is, it's always trying to prove us right around what we believe. I started this year believing that I was not worth showing up for, and that my big emotions or my authenticity created disconnection. So last year, 2021, was a process of me being aware that that was my core narrative, that that was what I was born into, ancestral trauma, and consciously choosing a new narrative, aka I've got my back, I am secure. So what that looked like for me was literally starting a note on my phone, and when I was calm, I would jot down evidences of how I was safe with me, and evidences of when I was authentic, how it was creating connection. So I was giving my brain evidence, new evidence of I'm safe in my authenticity. I am secure in my wholeness. Connection happens through joy now, not through suffering. So it was literally a process of shifting my mind. And when we talk about big neurological, psychological transformation, it happens in 3 stages: awareness, observation, integration. 2021, the tool that helped me was being aware of what those inner narratives were, what was handed down to me by my ancestors, observing when it would come up, and then integrating new behavior by going, hey, I know that you're freaking out because we just lost $600 to an Airbnb because we didn't plan correctly. And I know that my brain is going into, you see, you can't take care of me, you're not planning, you're not being organized enough, which is where my brain would go. And I'd go, hey, Deb, I know that growing up, it was up to us to be in control of everything, because if we didn't understand, then we weren't safe. I would validate what was coming up for me. Compassion, connection, secure attachment with that wounded self. And then I would pivot it to, and in 2021, I'm honoring our desire to travel, I've got my therapist on speed dial. So when you need support, I've got you. I've got a support system that knows how to show up and hold space for our authenticity. So it was a consistent, emphasis on consistent process of ingesting a new message for myself, with myself. And because life is not happening to us, it is happening from us.
From us.
Then now my relationship with me is secure and I can trust myself. So you bet your ass I can trust spirit to show up for me too. And that's when life just took a totally different pivot, and the things that continue to show up in my life, while accepting that life is chaos and unpredictable, there is outstanding and ever-growing evidence that I am supported and secure and loved and shown up for.
Wow. That's like a emoji blow up moment. There's so much I love about that and that I want to speak to. But I think in simple terms, because we're going to wrap this up now, is that woo-woo is what you want it to be.
Yeah.
Woo-woo is what you need. And the woo-woo calls you. We don't call it, right? And so it sounds like this year, and it's so perfect, because how could you not be with your thoughts when you're all by yourself, right? And so what you did was you took ownership of your thoughts and of those moments with yourself to really transform that language, that self-talk. And that is ritualistic in and of itself,
yes.
Right? And so ritual can be so many things. And the most powerful ritual that we could create for ourselves is those moments with ourselves where we are reflecting on, what am I saying to myself about myself? What am I saying to myself about the decision that I just made?
Yes.
Right? And what my life is going to be like after. And so with that, Debbie, what has changed? Like, we're literally almost a year, right?
Yeah.
Since you started this journey. How are you different today?
Okay. I wanted to be silly and be like, well, my hair is more fabulous.
and these earrings. Can we just like talk about the fierce earrings here? Like,
thank you.
Yes, I love them.
Thank you. So how am I different? Oh my goodness. I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said. I have now been in ownership of responsibility, the ability to respond to my life, not as victim. So what I feel I've shifted out of is a context of victim perpetrator, where I either have to be the victim or I have to be the perpetrator, and moving into a consciousness of there's no victim, there's no perpetrator, there's only adults with choice. So I think the big shift was that before I would go, okay, I could see what the environment and what people need, and I'm going to show up and be that for them. Now I'm going, I know what I need, and can you show up for me? And if you can't, that's okay. Go with God. And I'm not going to invest in this connection, in this project, in this experience. So it's been a space of radical acceptance. So before, for example, I'd go, oh my God, if this person triggers me, I need to be around them so that I can overcome this trigger. Now I'm going, no, this trigger is because they reinforce for me that my authenticity isn't safe. Therefore, I'm not going to spend time with them because I know my wounding, and I'm going to take care of my human.
Yes.
So the more divine I become, the more devoted I become to my human. I'm going to take care of me. I'm going to put myself in spaces that feel good and replenish me. Because as far as incarnation goes, to me, it's walking up to the ocean. If I told you guys, if I told Mo, hey girl, your action item is get a water bottle, go to the ocean and fill it with water and bring it back to me. And then you brought it back and you're like, here you go. If I said, oh, this is no longer ocean water, you'd be like, you're a fool. It is ocean water in a smaller container. We are the universe in a smaller container. How can we praise God, but then reject and belittle ourselves?
Amen.
I am spirit incarnated. The greatest contribution, I'm going to quote Rumi. Yesterday I was a fool, so I tried to change the world. Today I am wise, so I change myself. And I recognize that by honoring me, that is me dropping into the collective consciousness a new energy of wholeness and worthiness. That's my medicine and my contribution to humanity, not sacrificing myself. You.
Oh my God. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Oh, that was magical. So many pebbles of brilliance in this that I hope all of you soak in, reflect on for yourself. That's what this really is about. I want to give you all opportunities to hear other stories that you can perhaps see resonance or feel resonance for yourself, and begin to ask yourself some of the same questions, and even affirm for yourself where you have been fierce in your life. And I look forward to inviting many of you to have these conversations with me, with all of us, and continue to share. In closing, I just want to say that what you have brought up for me is the reason that I became a certified coach to begin with, and then a healer after that, back in 2008. Because what I started to notice in my life as a overachiever, hard worker, someone who wanted to be successful, aka all of us in this group, that you sacrifice and sacrifice and sacrifice, and you put yourself around that energy that is not good for you, right? That makes you toxic, makes you sick. And before you know it, you're in a state of sickness, which is how this conversation started, and you don't know how to get out of it, and you don't make the connection that it's all about our choices and our responsibility to ourselves, right? And so what I want you to remember today in closing is that we have 100% responsibility for the 100% energy that we have available to us at all times. And we get to choose where we put that. That doesn't mean that we don't take care of others. It doesn't mean that we don't love others. It doesn't mean that we don't sacrifice a little bit of ourselves, right? And have to prioritize. But what it does mean is that we do show up fiercely for ourselves. So with that, thank you for being here today. Love you guys. And in 2 weeks, we have another fierce conversation. So I look forward to all of you joining us for these. If you have any questions for Deb, write them in and she'll comment on them later on. And please invite your friends who you believe would enjoy being a part of this community and hearing these fierce conversations. Invite them into the group. They have to be a member of the group to enjoy these. And
invite them into the group.
And invite them into the group.
Like the whole conversation was about moving out of separation into unity. And so this is such an opportunity to do that. I thank you guys for giving me the space and time to jump on here and share with you. And thank you, Mo, for creating these spaces for connection. Like Inés, I see you going like, hey, it makes us feel more normal.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. And Marielle, who just launched her mediumship business. I'm so proud of all of you. I mean,
and is a queen.
Yes.
This
is one of her creations, by the way. So you can find her on Etsy. M is for Medium on Instagram. And Inés, oh my goodness, what you have done with your life. Girls, we're going to be scheduling your fierce conversations. Love you all. Have a brilliant day. And we are sending our magic to you.